You're probably not going to like what I have to say, but it's for your own good, and it also serves as a reminder for myself. The reason why you're not healing
It's because you stood in your own way.
We think that healing is a destination, that once we reach a certain point, we won't ever have to worry about it again. But actually, it's an ongoing process. It's something that if we stop, we realize that we will start falling into bad habits again. Now, for ages, I'd been in denial, thinking that I'd moved on past all the events that had kind of triggered me throughout my life, and that if I ever had a bad period, that it was just gonna pass. And there is some truth to that. But what I was doing was kind of sitting back and just waiting for everything to go past me, not doing the work that I should have been doing. But what I needed to do was take part in the process. In my mind, I thought, well, I've done all this work over the past few years, so I don't need to do anything else. But this isn't how it works. You have to keep going. You have to keep up with the continuity of staying aware, because when you stop and you start to lose that awareness, this is where you start making mistakes. And the mistake that I made was that I actually wasn't dealing with anything. What I was doing was packing it up in a bag, carrying it on my back, and just taking it with me to every destination. It was like a cart that I was pulling, and I would get annoyed at other people because they wouldn't help me or they wouldn't understand me. And feeling in pain was just too familiar. What I needed to learn was that I did not need to pull that cart. I didn't need to carry it with me. I could have just left the cart behind and moved on. But the problem was I hadn't really learned how to move on. Expecting other people to pull it with me isn't their responsibility either. It's mine. And there's a lot to be said in the story that we tell ourselves. We are great storytellers, but sometimes we tell our fate worse than what it actually needs to be. Sometimes we will tell ourselves that things always go wrong in my life, so things will always continue to go wrong in my life. And this is where we create a perspective on things. What happens in one chapter doesn't need to be reprinted in the next chapter. And at the end of the day, we're still writing our story. So we can write it however we want if we realize that we have the choice in it. And the most important thing that I needed to learn was that I could stop playing the victim. I played the victim for such a long time. I believed that everyone else was going to help me and that it was their job because I'd been through so much. And it's not to minimize my own struggles, but so is everyone else. So many people have so many heartbreaking stories. I had to stop believing that someone else needed to save me, that someone else needed to feel sorry for me, or that someone who had hurt me in the past was finally going to apologize for something, because that was never going to happen. And I shouldn't depend on those external things to make me feel like I can move on and be happier, because I don't need permission from someone else. For me, I can just be it. I can just accept it myself. You just need to wake up this fire inside of yourself that says, enough. I've had enough. This will no longer be my story anymore. I want things to be better, so I'm going to make it better. And it's strange when these moments hit you, because you have felt like you've been in the dark for so long, but now you're finally realizing that you can get up and just go switch that light on. And that's the lesson that you have to realize. You can either sit in the dark and stay in the dark, or you can get up and go find that light switch. And then you get up and look in the mirror and you see it's you versus you. It wasn't you versus the world. It wasn't you versus anyone else. It was just you. You were the one that was holding yourself back because you weren't doing something about it. And when I say doing something about it, sometimes a lot of that is the inner work in yourself. It's about changing your perspective, seeing how you've actually been looking at things. Have you been looking at it emotionally charged, or seeing it for what it is? There's a lot of knowledge, I believe, in Stoicism, and there are elements where obviously if you go too far, it might make you emotionless, and that's something we don't want to do. But there's a lot to be learned of looking at things for the face value that it is. When things go bad, take the opportunity to look at yourself, both flaws and attributes, and go on from there. And don't sabotage yourself. You need to be honest with integrity. Don't just critique yourself to the point of not doing anything, because there's probably a lot of value in yourself that you've yet to learn about. And then when you're doing the work, you have to stick to it. Make those actions become second nature. You know how we do things automatically. You want to get to a level where the good habits that you're doing becomes more automatic and the bad habits become less and less and less. But these things do take time. But what doesn't take time to build is the decisions that you make. And you have to remember that it's all about perspective. Take the glass of water situation. I say that the glass is half full. Someone else says that it's half empty. And another person says, well, the glass just has water in it. What I'm saying is that we aren't in control of what happens to us, but we do get to decide how we deal with it and how we move forward. We get to decide on how much pain that we let continue throughout our lives. Life has moments where it's very painful and you do need to feel those. But this is where emotional intelligence becomes stronger, is being able to accept all your emotions and being able to not let them dictate what you do with your life. Focus on what you can change and then go change it. And if there's someone that you've always wanted to be, just remember that you can go be it right now. As I say in a lot of my videos, you just need to start. If you want a ripped body, then you go to the gym. If you want to be healthier, then start making healthier choices. If you want to become smarter, then make sure that you go educate yourself, whether that's books or learning on YouTube or just something that gets you out to acquire the knowledge. Because with improving ourselves, you have to do it, not just talk about doing it. Because the problem is that sometimes we get a bit of a dopamine spike when we talk about the things that we want to do or want to achieve. And that dopamine hit is almost enough for us to not actually do it. So you need to be careful on how much you actually say out loud. The actions that you need to take is what you need to start doing. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, but I need time to become that person. Not really. I mean, if you want to be that person, then just start being that person. What time gives you is the long-term benefits, but there's plenty of short-term benefits that you can get right now if you just start. You have to think in a moment, if I was to be X type of person, what would I be doing right now? And what seems like small steps are still steps towards a greater goal. It's not just you are what you think you are, it's you are what you do. Because actions always speak louder than words, and there's nothing stopping you from starting right now. Like the saying goes, it's either day one or one day. Now you get to choose.